Hey guys, it's Nikki here, and I'm here for my first kind of book and movie conversation. I'm doing 2 of these this month. Initially, I intended to put out 4 videos for this thing, and I changed it to 2 because I'm nothing if not lazy. So the first fairy tale I did this month was The Beauty and the Beast by Gabrielle-Suzanne de Villaneuve, if my French was remotely not terrible there. And this is kind of considered one of the original tellings of Beauty and the Beast. And there's a lot of things I like about it, but the reason I picked it up is because I grew up loving the Disney's The Beauty and the Beast. Like, favorite Disney movie hands down growing up, and it's still one of my nostalgic favorites now. Because for me, there was so much to like. Less so with the original fairy tale. So it does have the same kind of bones as the Disney movie, but rather than being a lone child with an eccentric father, in this telling, Belle is the youngest of 10. She has 5 brothers and 4 sisters, and their mother died when Belle was born, and their father was a successful merchant until bad things happened to them. They lost their fortune, were kind of banished to the countryside, so to speak, and we're living impoverished, which is kind of the setup for the story. Father has a chance to get money, comes back, is only able to bring home the rose that Belle asked for, and then the entire story of Beauty and the Beast ensues kind of more or less as we know it. Although unlike the friendly animated household objects like you have in the Disney movie, there's a bunch of invisible people that are kind of animal servants, and just people in general that became statues left running around. And instead of learning to control his anger and then courting Belle, the Beast is just continually asking her to marry him. Weird setup. And I always forget when I pick this up that there is a weird plot twist that results in them finding out that Belle is Beast's cousin. So they fall in love and get married and are perfect European royals marrying first fucking cousins. I won't reveal the twist, I just want to reveal that because that drives me up the wall every time. Otherwise, the bones of the story are very similar to the beloved Disney movie. And while I would say both are entertaining in their own right, the Disney movie is definitely not an adaptation of this telling of the Beauty and the Beast by any standards. So in that respect, with how I usually rate it, it's a low score. But this story doesn't hold the same kind of value for me that the Disney movie story has. As I mentioned here, it does have very similar bones, but I don't like the way it's kind of preaching that women should be a certain way even if they're marrying people they don't love, or it's just a lot of older values are really seep through the story. So, and for that, it kind of discolors a lot of the enjoyment I have reading this kind of story, which all in all isn't terrible. But what I did like about this story is that it feels a little bit more realistic in how Belle gets to the castle. In the movie, her father's, he's an inventor, he's going off to make their fortune. Whereas here, it's like, he is a merchant, he knows how to make the fortune, he just has to go, recover his goods to sell them. And so to me, there were parts of this that made a lot more sense than in the Disney movie. You still get your happy ending. You still get the curse, which is very similar. The other thing about, I mentioned the incest, but of the story, the other thing that I dislike is the flow of the story. The pacing just isn't as nice as the adaptation Disney did. It's slower, it's not as entertaining, it's not as engaging. Although this specific edition has like almost like pop-up art and like really beautiful illustrations in it. But that being said, like it's not enough to keep you engaged. It wasn't enough to keep me as thoroughly engaged as if I had just been enjoying the story. This is not very structured. I'm sorry, guys. The characters in here are somewhat consistent, but rather than having like an anger problem like Beast in the Disney movie does, the Beast here, his inability to like woo Belle comes from part of the curse he received, and it just makes him like stupid and not glib, which is what it is. But yeah, this is so hard to talk about because the Disney movie for me is so beloved and so nostalgic. Whereas this I didn't read till I was an adult. And while I still enjoyed it, it just doesn't hold the same magic. And so I guess that's something that I really do have to give Disney, is that they are able to create this magic and whimsy and sense of adventure in the movie that just doesn't come across in the book the same way. So if you're going in to pick this up because of that movie, be prepared for that, because there is magic here, there is whimsy here, but it just is a very different vibe than you get with the Disney movie. And I guess what this comes down to is, like I said, it wasn't a great translation going from this book to that movie. This book is not my favorite. I mean, this edition specifically I love because I like the illustrations and the pop-ups. But the story is so different and it catches me off guard, especially with the little minor incestuous plot twist, that if you're wanting to pick this up because, say, you grew up with the Disney movie or another retelling very similar to the Disney movie, be forewarned going into this that it is not the same. If you enjoy the darker, older fairy tales, I definitely recommend picking up this book, especially if, say, you enjoyed the bones of the Beauty and the Beast story but didn't necessarily enjoy the Disney's representation of it. This is definitely the way to go then. And if you guys are interested in this specific copy, it's the one that's illustrated by Mina Lima. That company has done a series of books like this, and they've done a lot of award-winning like character design and animation and illustration for other big productions. And that's really all I have to say. Like, I forgot to write a script, so I'm sorry if this is a little chaotic. I'm doing this after work one day. I'm not feeling super awesome, and this just is what it is. So I will leave you here with my recommendation. If you like the movie, you probably won't enjoy this as much. If you didn't like the movie, this might be more your cup of tea, especially if you really enjoy the kind of darker original retellings of fairy tales. And I didn't really get into too much detail about either of the stories because their bones are the same, and if you know one, you'll know kind of roughly what the other one is, and they have the same ending. And that's just how it is. So here's to March's first fairy tale, The Beauty and the Beast. Enjoy. Peace.